Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today, our guest is Fletcher Wimbush. I'm very happy to have you here today, Fletcher. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Easy.
So, before we jump into our topic for today, can you shortly introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, I'm the CEO of Discovered AI and IntegrityFirst Tests. I've been thinking about hiring for the last 26 years and practicing best practices in talent acquisition. And a few years ago, we acquired Integrity First, which is an interesting risk management product. So that's why I was interested in chatting with you. But how the two worlds of who you hire and uh, the effect that has on your risk management program and your organization is such an important topic in my opinion. So I like to speak to people about it.
Yes, sounds excellent. Thank you so much for that short introduction and also kind of like a small intro into the topic. So, well,
Yeah.
let's get into it indeed. So, yeah, there's of course some, I think, merges between hiring and, risk management. Of course, it is with everything. So, what would be some key things you want to start with?
Yeah, I think when you get into this world of risk management, particularly, I mean, safety, but it doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's, in the finance sector where you're putting in checks and balances and controls and you're making sure that things are operating properly and no money. You guys heard about the Macy's thing where the person was stealing like $2 at a time in uh, uh, shipping fees, right? So weird things happen, right? That humans do weird things and they create risk, right? And I, I I wonder if how much as risk management professionals we really think about who we are allowing into our organizations and the effect that that's ultimately having on our risk management strategies. And in my particular use case, safety is one where we have a scientific journal article based on 500,000 data points that was published in 2020 that really glaringly points out that yes, if you neglect to scrutinize who you hire very well, you're opening yourself up to a whole Pandora's box worth of risk, right?
Yeah. Actually, you touch upon to a very interesting angle because, when in our community, at least when we think of risk, most of the time people think of risks that are, I guess, more apparent or, like financial risks or geopolitical risks or nowadays, cybersecurity, of course, due to AI.
Yeah.
But like often than not, I don't think human risk or like, related to what you are saying is talked about.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that is actually very, yeah, important to kind of like touch upon. So what are like, can you elaborate more on your topics on this?
Well, I mean, you look at financial risks and as well as like cybersecurity, geopolitical, that is an interesting topic. And, being this a global risk, topic, is not one I'm able to speak to, but those other two relate to safety, right? So so let's just take those financial, cyber and safety, all three and again, I don't have studies on those other two, but I have it on safety. And I would bet you that there's a lot of correlation. So take cybersecurity, for example. If you're uh, hiring developers and creating a team or hiring developer or leaders in your product development cycle who are not paying attention to cybersecurity and are not executing best practices, or maybe say SOC 2, for example, is great kind of baseline. If they're if they don't understand that, if they're not willing to invest their time and energy into uh, understanding the best practices there and implementing those and making those a priority, then you're opening yourself up to risk, right? And in the safety side, the studies have shown basically if well, travelers insurance publishes a big study each year, and I was just looking at the recent one, but 35% of all work comp claims come from people who've been hired within the first year, which is a big, gigantic magnifying glass on your new people are the ones that create some of the biggest pool of risk for your organization, right? Um, these people also become EEOC claims here in the U.S. or other sort of labor claims, probably elsewhere in the world, right? It's these new people who we're allowing into our organization who have less than are maybe not as value aligned with our organizations, maybe lack integrity. They believe uh, that they can do drugs or they can steal or they can lie uh, in order to get by in life or in work. And these things turn into negative consequences like safety risk or others.
Thank you. And let's look from a different perspective. So let's say I'm a risk manager, I am a, hiring professional or a CEO, and I want, like get a new hire, of course. So what should be maybe some things that I should pay attention to? Are there like any tools or certain things I should be looking for or like should be implementing to, reduce the risks that you mentioned as much as
Yeah.
possible?
Well, I'm going to share with you after the recording here, and you can share with your audience if you want. But we created a hiring GPT in the Chat GPT store, and you can check that out. And it really starts with really getting folks to do a deep job analysis. And that's a step that many people just overlook. Hey, I need to hire X, Y, and Z, and don't take the time to really assess what it is that what problem this person solves, how you're going to measure success, and the key outcomes that you're looking for this person to accomplish. So the failure just starts in terms of like we have a vague idea of who we're looking for, and then if you solve that, everything else becomes quite a bit easier to tackle. But a few tips: structured interviews, leveraging candidate scorecards. So, are the scientifically proven best way to make better hires. Better hires, less risky, perform better, less likely to turn over, less likely to just become a problem of any kind, right? So it's a free thing you can do. The ChatGPT will walk you through it if you take the time to do the job analysis, right? It'll create the scorecard for you. It will create the interview questions for you. Um, and you'll find them to be remarkably spot on if you've done that one step first, right? Um, Two other things that are really important. We talked about integrity testing is fantastic for just eliminating problem people from your organizations, risky people who are likely to become safety risks or really other sort of problematic employees. These people sue you for fraud or they sue you for other weird things, and oftentimes they're fraudulent or questionable claims these people make. But the last one is reference checks. So uh, don't ever hire anybody without speaking to their previous boss, period. And I think many people miss the boat on that. Even the ones who do reference checks, they say, EC, can you give me three references? And you give me three references. But those people may not be of the authority level that you really need to be speaking to. You might give me three HR people. HR is not qualified to give you a reference on your job performance. They didn't manage you, right? Your boss managed you. Your head of risk, your head of, compliance, your, CFO, somebody else was that person's direct supervisor and the chief consumer of that person's work product. So that person is qualified to provide a reference, but not the HR department who just handled the paperwork, right? But if you do those three things, or if you just do one or two of those things, again, reference checking and structured interviews, candidates and using candidate scorecards are free things. But again, ChatGPT will walk you through it, help you create all that stuff. Just do it. Those are all statistically proven to move the needle big time in the quality of hire that you're going to make.
Thank you so much. And with that, that was actually all my questions. So thank you so much for, like explaining also, I think some actionable tips or things essentially people are missing out on when, they're conducting a hiring process, I think. So is there anything you like to add?
No, if if you'd like to connect with me and chat about leveling up your hiring or reducing risk through who you're hiring, I'm easy to find. Fletcher Wimbush on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. Shoot me a note. Let me know you heard me on the podcast. Also, I assume you see in your show notes. I'm going to share with you guys that GPT tool, as well as our 8-hour e-learning course on the fact-driven hiring system that you can. I'll give you a promo code you can get for free. You can give that to your hiring managers, your HR people, study up yourself, and level up your hiring game there. So those will all be free gifts I'll leave for you and your audience.
Excellent. We really appreciate this kind of, like accessing this kind of tools. I hope our audience as well, because I mean, it is, why not? Could be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, look, do you want to work with people who are high performers, good natured, fun to work with, have a good, match your culture, have high integrity, or do you want to, deal with people who are nightmares? You know,
Yeah. I mean,
I think we
I would
all,
imagine nobody would want to deal with like somebody that doesn't fit their culture, even not
yeah.
even the rest, but just that alone, I think.
I think we've
So,
all been there. I think we've all
yeah.
been there, right? And had either a coworker or a boss or a subordinate who was a problem, what we call problem generators or talented terror. And the emotional toll, let alone the financial toll that takes on us and our organizations, is huge, right? And the
Mm.
sleepless nights, the frustrations going home to your spouse, complaining about so and so because they're such a nightmare. I mean, so we just, I'm on a mission to help organizations stop that kind of outcome in their hiring, right?
Excellent. That it's a great mission, I think. So, yeah, well, with that, I want to thank you so much once again, Fletcher, for joining us today and sharing your expertise on this. I don't think we talk about this as often as much as, some other, I think, buzz topics like, AI or so on. So it's always good to have a, more of a human touch, I guess, in
Mm.
midst of like talking about just that kind of like
Yeah.
technological stuff as well. I mean, obviously, what you are doing also involves a lot of
Yeah.
technology as well. That is without being said. But
But
yeah, thank you so much.
thank you.